All right, it looks like I'm live. So it is Murder Monday. Just looking through this States of Decay book, looking for a little inspiration for today's page. Hope everybody had an okay Monday. Excuse me. Been filming videos all day, so I'm a little froggy. Oh my gosh. I feel like I get out here and all of a sudden I'm just little Miss Yanni. Hey Janice, how you doing? Hiya. How's your day? Let's see. I'm just looking for something to give me an idea of what I want to do today. I thought we'd flip through here. School for Girls in New York. I do like the one chair sitting there. That's inside the School for Girls. This one too. Oh, that's a blast furnace. Just okay. All right. Well, I think that's a perfectly apt description of a lot of Mondays, right? It's been all right here too. I swear. Yeah, I have been up since 3:30, so you got through it. It was okay. That's how I feel some Mondays. I try to approach them with the "it's going to be great" theory of life, but uh-oh. It's 5:30. Do you know where your brain is? My brain should be live, and it is. Ta-da! Look at that old telephone. From the staff quarters of a hotel in New York. Look at the row of old TVs. With the shoes still there. Just a chair in the hallway. Oh, we've got some glare, huh? Let me see if I can adjust that a little bit. Maybe. Hey, Roseanne, how you doing? Baby parlor chairs. Oh, there's an old stenographer's machine. Oh, that didn't help at all, did it? Let's turn that again and see if that helps. Maybe it's coming from the light behind me. Yeah, I think it's coming from the light behind me. I don't know. Let's see if we... Okay, if we just elevate it a little bit, maybe. Okay, slightly less glare. Just, like I said, looking for a little inspiration for today's... Oh, that's interesting shapes, huh? There's a grain elevator in New York. Central Terminal in New York. Government documents over here. It's amazing what gets left laying around, right? Pretty good. I sent my 3 and 1 grand. 3. Well, the unscathed is probably how their parents would prefer them. And tired. They'd like them to be tired when they go home. which is, of course, tiring for you, right? But in a good way, in a good way. Al Capone, so. And that's an asylum in New York, the exit. Okay, so I saw a couple. I marked this one. I like this. It's from an elementary school in Pennsylvania, but there was another one I saw. There was a chair like on a little stage that I thought was pretty interesting for oh, there it is right there. I thought maybe turn that into a kind of a pocket. You could see maybe staging a body there. So let's pull this one out. All right. We're gonna try and do some stuff here. Oops, probably not leave my pen in my focus. I'll be looking for the pen like, where'd it go? I know I had it. That's how I am though, right? Hey, Trucker Janie, how you doing? Weekend sewing? How you doing? She says highway to everybody. Okay, so, oh, it's this page. So let's see. Let's cut off this rough edge first. Grab my paper trimmer. And then we'll cut the black part off this side. We might save that for something. Rows and rows of seats. Okay. So I'm just going to set this off to the side here. You at home, Miss Janie, or are you out on the road? So obviously I kind of want to make a side tucky pocket, and I think I'm going to, and I definitely want the full steps in the stage. So we're going to trim a little from the top. There is actually a black border up there that I didn't notice. So, let's see. I believe it was Roseanne last time suggested we look at John Robinson. And when I went to look him up, he was one of the first ones I did solo. We've covered him already. And he did some pretty horrific things. And he looked a little bit like Santa Claus, which is disturbing. So let's see about this. I think I'm going to put a little gusset in here so that we can, I have a couple of things that need a home. And they're very bulky, so I think we might. But I want the pocket to be over here. So we're looking at where we need to trim that to. Okay. Adria, how you doing? We left Sunday evening, not home till early Saturday morning. So, well, that's a long trip. So today is Monday, so you just left yesterday. That's a whole week. That's a lot. Okay. So we're probably going to we're going to glue it here. And I think I want to put some gussets. So probably we should bring back some of that stuff that we cut off. Or we could just use regular paper. There's that too. There's lots of stuff in here. I'll put a pink paper there. I think that'll have to do us. It's a good scrap. I think it'll work. So we had already covered John Robinson. So I pulled a different. What did I do with it? Oh, here we go. So I pulled a different guy. Yesterday I was looking up videos and stuff. Oh, I'm on top chat. Let me get on live chat. I probably haven't missed anything, but it's always a good idea to be on live chat. There we go. Okay. So I picked Adolfo Constanzo. And he was born in Miami, Florida. So in November 1st, 1962. I can look up the video for you. We did a whole session on it. He did some pretty gnarly stuff. He was an interesting case, but he was not a nice man. That's all I'm saying. I just want a little gusset on this, you know. I'm gonna cut this piece of paper as soon as I'm gonna cut it here. There we go. We should get 2 pieces roughly the size we need. A little trimming maybe. He was a piece of work. But before we leave here, I'll try and get you a link for the video. It was a little while ago. Pretty slick. And it was good to recommend. I just hadn't realized we'd already covered him. Okay, so where'd that piece of paper go? We want the gussets to be at the top and the bottom. And we don't need it necessarily to go all the way to the top or the bottom. We kind of want it to be in the middle because we want to leave space at the bottom to glue it down because it's going to be on the spine side. So we don't want to create a bunch of bulk down there. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clip here so that it doesn't. Sometimes if you don't, I don't know where my scissors are. Then you wind up seeing the square edges poke up above the pocket. Hey Leslie, how you doing? So let me check real quick. I know it was one of the first ones I did by myself, so I don't think it came from StreamYard. Give me a second. I should start putting the name somewhere in the Murder Monday. Okay. I wonder. No, don't see it right away. I'll find a link and I'll send it to you. But there's several good videos out there about him. Okay, so I've linked 2 videos below. One's a short one that kind of does a very broad, like, overview of the type of magic that. So this was a guy, Adolfo Constanzo, Constanzo. Born November 1st, 1962 in Miami, Florida. He is a Cuban American. His mother was 15 years old when she had him. She was married several times, and he has a couple of siblings. And kind of the span of his crimes from 1986 to 1989 is his big. That's when he was most active. Before that, it was mostly petty crimes and stuff like that. So the first one is kind of just a broad overview of the kind of magic he was practicing. He, when he was a child, his first stepfather had him baptized Catholic. So he was an altar boy and all that stuff for a little while. But his mother traveled around with him when he was young. He was her favorite child, and so she doted on him and spoiled him. But she was Cuban originally, I do believe, and I need a paper towel. And she traveled with him. They lived for a while in Puerto Rico, and she took him to Haiti. And she was a practitioner of something like Santeria. And then as he got older, he became interested in, let's see, let me find the name here. Palo Mayombe, which is an African Cuban religion. It involves the sacrifice of animals. It's I think you can say similar to Santeria. Yeah, Golden Child serial killer for sure. And hello, Miss Carla. Welcome. So she doted on him, and they traveled to Haiti, and they did stuff involving what we would consider voodoo or voodoo here. So from a very young age, he was indoctrinated into these alternative, and it involved a cult and human sacrifices ultimately, is what I'm getting at. And I want to be sure to point out at the beginning so that I don't get a bunch of hate mail. Not most of these religions, there might be some, hold on, I gotta get this one trimmed to the same length. There might be some animal sacrifice, stuff like that, but they don't involve human sacrifice. Occasionally they do use human remains, but for the most part, you're not seeing because he was groomed early into it, and his mom thought he was destined for great things, and he was kind of taught at an early age that if you're not a believer in his particular religion, and because he was that golden child kind of thing, that the other people who were non-believers were less than him, and that I think over time he kind of came to see people not involved in his own brand of religion as less than human even. And if you're less than human and you're already kind of involved in and indoctrinated at a very young age in an animal sacrifice, and you see that as normal, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the animal sacrifice thing. I'm not going to get up on a that's not what we're talking about. But I think because from a young age he was desensitized to it, that it was much easier for him later in his teen years and his adult. I gotta let that dry a little bit before that he kind of evolved into something that you wouldn't normally see in an alternative non-Christian religion. Yeah, so born in Miami, he traveled around with his mother. They moved from Miami to Puerto Rico for a while, and then back to Miami. And she, like I said, traveled to Haiti. And because the stepfather was a Catholic, they kind of practiced in secret. And he was heavily involved with his mother being the favorite child. Anything, yeah. But especially from a young age. You're talking about, in his formative years, birth to 7, 8 years old, in there. By the time they moved back to Miami in 1972, he was 10 years old. He'd already been practicing with his mother in secret. Shortly after they moved to Miami, the stepfather died. And at the age of 10, he became an apprentice to what's the equivalent of a priest in the Palo. Oh, I have it written out so that my handwriting's messy. And I don't speak Spanish, so I'm probably murdering this. Palo Mayambe. So he became an apprentice at 10. And I won't go into the specifics of the religion, but there is a second video linked below, and it goes very in depth. The first half of it's like an hour and 16 minutes, and it was one of the best ones I saw. It goes really in depth into his early childhood and the specifics of the religious indoctrination for him. And so I would recommend it, because I'm going to do my best here, but they did a really good job with this particular serial killer. I really felt like they fleshed it all out from his childhood to his death. Okay, so as a teen, he had already been, let's say from 15 to 18. So by 10, he was already, so that would put him at 15 to 18, 5 to 8 years into an apprenticeship to become a priest himself. So it's like the Sith, one from another, it's a training program, an apprenticeship. So, but one of the things about this religion is it's very heterosexual. People who are gay or bisexual or whatever, not supposed to become priests. But he frequented gay clubs as a teen. He was involved in a lot of petty crime, vandalism, theft. As he got into his later teen years, he took up fortune telling. And so when he graduated, he did graduate when he was 18. He was a less than stellar student, and he did 1 semester at community college. So not educated in that way, but he grew up in the life, so to speak. In 1983, Constanzo pledged himself to the Palo Mayambe deity, and I'm just going to spell it for you. I'm not even going to try. It's Kadiempembe. The guys in the video do a good job pronouncing it. It's the Palo Mayambe equivalent of Satan, the devil, in their religion. So he pledged himself to a dark path here. And he started out kind of normal and doing fortune telling and protection spells and cleansings and that sort of thing. But he met up with 2 other guys, Omar Ocha and Jorge Montes. One of them was already his bodyguard, and the other guy, he was looking at it as a potential lover, but both of them were his lovers. Let's see if this is dry here. Dry enough to start to glue down. I don't want it to stick together. For creating a pocket, I found this page in that one of those Urban Decay type books that was sent to me. We're making a pocket because we need another pocket. I just like the picture. I like the idea of possibly, having a body staged on the chair or the stage. It seems like fun. More pockets. Sounding like a Laurel K. Hamilton novel. So he also moved to Mexico City around this time. In 1983, he moved to Mexico City, devoted himself to this dark deity, and basically started a cult. He started out kind of, low level, regular people, and then he was working his way up to richer clients, to drug dealers, to and so on up the food chain. But he started out simply with fortune telling, and I don't think they mean like tarot cards. I think they mean like people would come to this with a problem, and he would tell them, well, if somebody would come to him and say, "Oh, my boss is stolen money from me, it won't give me my pay," he would do the ritual and tell them, something's going to happen to the boss, and you'll come into money. And then, as luck would have it in his favor, these things actually happened. Love my window page. Oh, it's actually a starry sky. We can hold it up here. You need it a little closer. Oh, try to get the shine off there. And it is, gasp, a pocket. Yeah. We glued down a bunch of fun stuff. It's very layered. There's fabrics under there, lots of pieces of paper. And then there's a postcard in there. This is 1982. And then we've got some stuff over here. And we have her. So it's a fun page. I love it's a vintage postcard too that somebody sent to me. I think it was, I'm trying to think of the name now. Thanks, Adria. Surprise, a pocket. So I hope I'm making sense to you guys. So he had dealings in all level of the community, and he kind of worked his way up to a more elite clientele and people in law enforcement, mostly people who were involved in the drug trade in some way, or who were less than, the police element in Mexico that's probably less than savory. And it looks like the area where he was very close to the Texas border. So it was, a place where people are crossing and drugs are crossing. So as his clientele became more elite, more and more elaborate rituals, more exotic. And he did start out with just animals. And then there was some grave robbing involved, and they were using human remains, but they weren't killing people at this point. In the 1983 to probably 1985, probably not really murdering anybody, but they were grave robbing, they were desecrating graves, they were performing from as simple as a chicken, and then there are some of the videos say zebras, a baby tiger, or a baby lion. I don't remember which. A baby lion. So for different price points, right? The more exotic, or the more elaborate, I guess, the ritual, the higher the price. And because he was, for whatever reason, and he was making connections with smaller drug cartels and stuff like that, where he was getting information, but he considered the rituals he was doing enabled him to get this information, although it's really just networking. But he fully believed in his own power as a magic practitioner. was bringing him these rewards. So for what he was putting into his magic, he was getting returns. And for a lot of what he did and what he told people, these things did come true. But he was getting information, remember, from other people too. Eventually, he became quite wealthy. He had over 30 very well-off customers. And he had a house or a condo or something like that was like $60,000. He had fancy cars. He liked to dress up. He liked to wear furs and expensive clothing and jewelry. He looked like a really 70s, kind of pimp looking with the fur coats and stuff in some of the pictures I saw. In 1985, he started to escalate, and they started using more remains from local cemeteries. And this is when they started, I haven't either. I just like Huggy Bear. Only he dressed all in white for the light colored. Like they showed him in like acid wash jeans, but it was in the 70s. So, the originals. But he had like a white fur coat and a white shirt, but not a button down, kind of more of a 70s thing going on. Because of a lot of people who practice the Afro-Caribbean religions, white is for priests and initiates. You'll see them in white a lot. So Huggy Bear, but in white clothing. So here we are. And in 1985, I think is when they started used more of the rituals, starting to get into people with ritual sacrifice. The video has a very detailed timeline, and it's not for somebody who's squeamish, because they describe the brutalness of the things he did in great detail. That they must have had access to files or people who because they had specific dates and people and the atrocities that were done to them, whether it was chopping somebody's head open, or they tortured people. As it went on, it got more brutal. Some people they like to know the details, but they don't like to. If you watch the second video that's listed in the description, they go into great detail for the whole thing. They have like a kind of an itemized. I was pretty impressed with the video. I'm just kind of doing an overview for you guys. So let's see if this is dry enough before we continue to. I think it's dry enough to glue down. So let's do that, and then we'll get into 1980, late 1985 and 1986. And like I said, the first part of that second video really describes the vessels. Like it's a cauldron, and they put the bones and all kinds of other and body parts and organs, and usually it's done with animals, like I said. But let's make sure we glue this the right way. Oh, what a dork. Okay. So let me get this pushed down here. But basically they're putting all of the sacrificial elements into this pot, which becomes a source of power for the priest to draw from, right down to even the blood from. Oh, you know what I didn't do? What a dork. I didn't glue along the bottom here. What a dumbass. Hold on, please. So as you can imagine, this is a messy religion. And he had his, initial two guys, and he's gaining more and more followers. People who become true believers because of his fortune telling. Let's see. I'm holding this down, but I'm trying to look at my notes. Appropriate to Aztec land area. Yeah. So let's see. Let me bring this up here. So in 1986, he becomes involved with the Calzada crime family. And he's given them, he's performing the rituals, and they're getting their drugs across the border. He's given them, good, solid advice based on the rituals. And so they're prospering financially. And the guy that he's dealing with, he says he wants, a 50-50 split. He feels like he's given them all this good advice and he's helping them make lots of money, and he's not getting as much as he thinks he should get in return for his abilities and what he's doing for them. So he says to them, I want a 50-50, and the guy's like, hell no. So some time passes, a little bit of time, and he goes to the guy and he says that he was manipulated in some way, and bad juju basically, and so he overreacted to the guy telling him no, and he said he wanted to do some kind of healing or protection ritual on the whole crime family. So the guy and his wife and blah blah blah, it's 7 people. He gets into a room to do this ritual. Yeah, that's a boo-boo. You don't tell the crazy guy no when he wants half your money. So he gets them in the room and he's performing the ritual. And at some point where he's going to make the sacrifice for this, his 2 henchmen, his lovers, come in with semi-automatic or automatic weapons. I can't remember which one. Mows down the whole family. And they harvest them for, fingers and ribs and some organs, blood, and then they dump them in the river. And of course, the bodies turn up and they're mutilated, but nobody associated it with them. And this, I think, was empowering, because they basically slaughtered in most of this crime family in one go. Okay, so we're gonna let this sit here for a minute and do its thing. Let the glue cure for a minute. But we've got a pretty good pocket going on if I don't play with it anymore. Let me push it over so you guys can see. So it's this stuffed chair on a little stage. I just think it's like a good creepy scene. That's a different kind of harvest than what we do here. So let's see. Let me refer to my notes. Hold on. And during all of this, how he got in with the next crime family. I don't think it was the Calzadas, but I think it's the next crime family after, which I didn't write the name down to. He basically got involved with 2 or 3 different crime families, looking for something. He didn't want to get in as a low level in a big organization. He was trying to find a small one he could take over. So he got involved with this woman named Sarah Alderette. And he brought her in, and they did have a relationship. Apparently, some of it was sexual, although I guess not extensively so. But he gave her the moniker La Madrina, the godmother, and she became, him and the 2 guys and her were the core central group of this. And then they had like another ring that was very close and participated quite a bit. Most of these people, though, were not involved in the human sacrifice until towards the end. So from 86 to 89, they're kind of doing this thing with the their human sacrifices are prostitutes and drug dealers and some regular people wandering around. Nobody that anybody really cares about or is really looking into. So they're getting away with it, and they're again the sense of empowerment, right? The magic is working because they were doing things like he considered himself invisible, like he could pass. The police wouldn't notice him basically, and so some supernatural qualities to what he could get away with, and his followers by association. But in 1989, this is when things are getting. This is like the end. 1980 and he died in. Let me look here. He died on May 6, 1989, in Mexico City. And his downfall, as it happens, is he was killing his own people. You know, he was killing. Second boo-boo, believing your own. Yeah, definitely. But the ultimate downfall, where do these serial killers usually go wrong? People, I think it's disgusting that they pick on the dregs of humanities, people who on drugs, drug dealers, prostitutes, people who are, not that drug dealers are, but nobody's really going to care if a couple of them go missing, right? For the most part, except maybe their own people. But what led to his downfall was his final victim was a white guy from Texas who came from a wealthy family. He's a pre-med student at at Texas A&M, I think, or University of Texas. I can't remember. But yeah, invisibility. Well, that's how they got caught eventually. And all they were performing this really big ritual for a drug dealer to get for safe passage. Basically, it's going to be protection for safe passage of a really big shipment from the U.S. or from Mexico to the U.S. And so they did an initial sacrifice, and Constanza didn't feel like it was enough. And so they got another person, and it turns out it was a family member of one of the, I guess, basically they picked up 3 or 4 people in a row for this sacrifice. The second or third person, one of the inner circle, like the second ring, shot accidentally the person they were supposed to, because torture has become a part of this. It started out pretty gruesome, and it was just getting worse. They were torturing them more and more. The people were supposed to die in as afraid as possible, in as much pain as possible, for this magic to work. So because the guy had shot the victim, and so he didn't get the proper amount of juju off it, I guess, he ordered them to go out and pick up someone else. I think this is the third person now. And it turned out to be the younger cousin of the guy who shot the second sacrifice. So then he tells his people to go out and he needs somebody with high intelligence. They went out and they picked up this American kid who had gotten separated from his group. And basically the way it was described was it's a town that's separated by a bridge on the Mexican side and the American side. So kids just come over, they walk over the bridge, they go to the bars and stuff, where the legal drinking age is 18. So it's probably this 18 to 20-year-old kid who's a pre-med student, comes from a wealthy family, but he got separated from his friends for whatever reason. Maybe he was a little drunk to begin with and just wandering slowly down to wherever they were going. But they picked him up and offered him a ride, and then said they had to stop somewhere, and he got suspicious and he tried to run. He did not get away. They brutally killed him. But because he was American, they were getting pressure from the American side, and the officials were actually going to look into this, where most of their other dubious activities had gone largely unnoticed. Um, they fled. They fled. They had a compound. Let me see. Compound in the Mexican desert, in the high desert. I don't know. I'm not all that familiar with Mexico, but apparently it was in the high desert, but also near the border, called Rancho Santa Elena. And this is where all their sacrifices were happening. But they had kind of moved from property to property, and this was their final kind of. So how they get caught is one of these guys is driving back, and there's a police checkpoint where you have to stop and they search your car and ask you questions and shit. And he thought he was invisible, so he drove right on through. And the police followed him back to the compound. But the Constanzo and his top people, his top 3 or 4 people, had already fled. The cops followed him back, and these people who thought that they were invisible or immune, they were joking around with the cops and explaining everything they'd done because they thought they were going to get away with it. Lo and behold, they did not. Many of them went to jail for a very long time. So his top people, they go to another place, I think Mexico City. They're staying in an apartment. They've changed their appearance. But like Constanzo cut it. He had long hair and, facial hair, and he had, so he dyed his hair red. He cut his hair. His, the girl changed her appearance. She even tried to turn herself in, but she didn't look like herself, so they just kind of blew her off. She was trying to get caught. I think she knew things had gone too far. They were not golden. Well, they thought they were. They were joking around that even when they were arrested, they were in the police station. These people they fully drank the Kool-Aid. They really thought there was going to be no consequence for them. They were just telling all the horrific things they'd done in great detail. They just, like, we're going to get away with this because we're, invincible. But he doesn't get caught because of something he did. The police were doing a door-to-door search for a missing child. On May 6, 1989, they're doing this door-to-door search, and they come to his apartment, and he freaks out, and he shoots at the cops. He's in there with, it's Constanzo and 3 of his followers, the girl and his 2 male lovers. There was a 45-minute standoff involving, I think, around 150, 175 police officers. Only 1 injury, I think. I don't think anybody got killed, except this is how it went out. When he realized he was going to be taken by the police and he was going to be in jail, and that he was, I'm sure this is all going through his head. He's a gay man who's going to go to prison. He's mutilated and murdered, and not just this white guy, but lots of people. He had his top guy shoot him and his main lover. The girl and the other guy were arrested, and they went to jail. But yeah, he took the coward's way out. He had somebody. He didn't even shoot himself. Somebody else shoot him. Basically, he went in a closet and they shot him through the doors. The 2 guys. And then once they had shot them, I think the police, rushed the building, and that was the end of that. So let me see if I can. I think it was like 23 or 26 murders in total. Hold on for a second. Let me see if I can find the count. Okay, so looks like 20 people were killed. 1 killed by proxy, which means he had somebody else kill them. 1 or more people were attempted to be killed, but were not. And then there was tons of like victimless crime, vandalism, petty minor stuff. But so apparently officially 20 But I read somewhere else 26, so maybe it's 20 official and 26 that are attributed, because that kind of stuff happens all the time. Well, he officially was convicted of this many murders, but we think he killed this many people. Yeah, that's what the guys in the video were saying. This would make a great movie, but it's super gory. This would be so bloody. In the video, one of the guys said that basically every place the mother lived, and she went through apartments quickly because there were complaints about, because she, after her second husband died, she was openly practicing her Mayambe religion, which involved animal sacrifice. So they were leaving behind trash places full of blood and animal parts and bones and feathers and stuff. So she would just move out and leave a trash place, which is gross. But it's not like there's no evidence, you know. But he was super attached to his mother. One of the articles and one of the videos said that he would call her all the time and talk in like a baby voice to her. Well, she was a firm believer in her religion and that it, you know, and the sacrifices that needed to be made and all of that. There's nothing wrong with Palo Moyambe itself, but there's no reason to just trash places in pursuit of your religion, really. So we're putting our two little, yeah, this is, look at how huge the pocket is. So there we go. Ta-da. So what do you guys think? Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for sure. Believing you're invisible and invincible. And just like basically driving through a police checkpoint like la 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 and having the police follow you and thinking nothing of it. It would make an excellent movie. And it's one of the few I've heard out of Mexico. Normally they're like, we don't have serial killers. That shit doesn't happen here. There's a lot of machismo around, and I haven't heard of very many. But maybe because he wasn't originally from Mexico, and because he was gay, maybe. Being gay in Mexico, not that's a hard road to hoe there. Discounting serial killers. Oh, well, what was the, I do have that. What I just do with my piece of paper? I just had it in my hand. Okay. So, his reign of terror, 1986 to 1989. He died on May 6, 1989. And I think he was 26. He probably had some personality. Well, he definitely thought he was the chosen one. The priest that initiated him, that he was an apprentice to, told his mother when he was a baby that he was the chosen one, that he was meant for great things. He was going to do, you know. So he grew up hearing this from his mother, from religious figures, that basically he was anointed and special and above other people, and that even. And like I said, non-believers are essentially animals. So, and what do they do with animals? They sacrifice them. I think it all rolls from his birth forward, propelling him towards not a great end. I mean, he conceivably could have done a lot more damage, but he was successful enough with his contacts and stuff that he was giving out predictions that were accurate because he had a good networking system. I think had he not gotten just randomly caught, this could have been a much, much higher body count. And it could have been something, you know, along the lines of a Jim Jones massacre at some point. I doubt they would have ever drank the Kool-Aid themselves, but I think they would have probably killed a lot more people. But if you want to hear all the gory details, that second video that's listed in the description box will get you there. It starts out, like I said, with an overview of the religion and his childhood. And so you get a good glimpse into the psychology behind what he became. Because he was not getting a lot of discipline. He got away with petty crimes pretty easily. It doesn't even really ever say he was picked up or in jail. So I think he really drank the Kool-Aid himself. He drank his own Kool-Aid. He believed in his own invincibility, his own superiority. That he was entitled to do these things. Yeah, his mother mixed up that Kool-Aid special just for him. So hopefully you guys didn't think that was too gross. I just imagine blood and gore everywhere. Like, eh. But I think probably at some point somebody will do a movie on it. The second video is 3 years old, but I just think it's so well done. I watched about 6 videos, and I think it condensed it all in a way. The guy talks a little slow for me, so I sped it up a tad. But if you listen to him in regular, so he has a nice voice. I think he does for, they're white guys that are doing this. I think they do a pretty good job with the pronunciations. I don't think, anybody who's not able to speak fluently is going to do a stellar job on the pronunciations. But good murder story. Thanks. So we didn't get a whole lot done. We got 1 pocket put in. But look, we made the book thicker. So big. So big. I think I am going to we're gonna have to take that apart and rebind. I don't think there's any way around it now. We're near total explosion point. Because we got to still stick a map in there and glue stuff all over that map. So we're done in an hour. That's pretty good for a Monday, right? It's going to need its own movie box. Yeah. It weighs like 2 pounds. We weighed it one time, like 2.25 pounds, something like that. We'll see what it weighs when it's all done. Spine surgery. Ooh, scissors emoji. Oh, thanks, you guys. I appreciate you coming in. Els wasn't feeling well. She was taking a nap. I did ask her if she wanted to come on and do Murder Monday, but her head was killing her. They went out grocery shopping, and I guess it's, it was so bright and so sunny, and light glared off of everything. So she had to go lay down. But I'm not saying she'll never come back, but I think you can probably, it'll be me for a while. Just me. But I'll look up something fun for next Monday. And I highly recommend the videos. The first one is only 4 minutes. It just gives a brief overview of the type of magic he was doing. If you just want something short and sweet. The other 1 hour and 16 minutes, great detail, goes into very in-depth and gives a great timeline of everything that happened. I'm glad you thought it was fun. Fun in a very murdery, stabby, machete kind of way. So I will be on again on Wednesday, but there will be a video out tomorrow for you guys. I'll release it around 7:15, the time I would normally go on. And then Wednesday I'll be live at 7:15 for choppity chop. Yeah, they were chopping up some stuff. Can you imagine murdering a whole drug cartel? I can't even. And like cutting off their fingers and harvesting stuff off their bodies. Just the level of, I don't know, the ego involved in feeling like you're entitled to that. So on Wednesday after Rosemary, I will be doing a magazine harvest. So I will see you then. It was ballsy. It was just kind of, wow. But yeah, so I hope you'll watch the videos and we can maybe discuss it on Wednesday a little bit more. I'll watch the video again to refresh myself. But more, you can imagine it. But yeah, like you could start casting that and thinking, who would look good in white and fur, being gay. But I can kind of picture it. But the level of ew, just blood and gore. It's got to be smelly because they're putting all this in the cauldron, and I don't think they're dumping stuff out. They're just adding stuff in. So, ew, flies and grossness and smellies. I know, it's almost it's like outlandish. It's so, I don't know, grandiose, I guess. But that's serial killers for you. He really had kind of a messiah thing going on. Although I don't think he ever thought of himself as a messiah. He just thought he was the shit, that he was the chosen one, and he could basically do whatever he wanted. And by association over time, with things working out over and over again for them, I bet it smelled special. His inner circle kind of believed they were invincible and could do whatever they wanted. Just crazy. So we're going to end it here. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me on this fine Monday for a little murder stabby action. So I will see you on Wednesday if you're available. Look for my video tomorrow. And don't forget about Creative Chaos in the mornings at 6:30 on Patreon. He had the power. He was no He-Man, though. That made me laugh. Thank you, Janice. Well, you guys are so welcome. I love doing this for you, for and with you. It's great to get to have this. So however you guys are spending your days and nights, I sure hope it brings you great joy and happiness. Each and every one of you absolutely deserves it. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You are awesome, awesome people. So until I see you in one of my lives or in a box somewhere, I wish you guys the happiest of crafting. Get out there and do a little crafting. Glue some stuff down to some other stuff. Throw some paint at it. Bright blessings and hugs and hisses to you all. Bye, 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 bye. And that's going to be the end for us. We're going to push that button. Good night, ladies. See you next time.